Well, good afternoon and welcome to Sea Fishing with CJ. We're down on the beach, and we're down on the beach in the afternoon, which is really unusual for me, to be fair. I normally try to fish into the dark. We will be fishing into the dark, but the most of this session will be in daylight. Yeah, I was just itching to go fishing, and I took a little drive down here this morning, and I had a look at the sea and thought, you know something, that is fishable. It's, you know, it's a bit breezy, but we're going to give it a go. I do notice, however, that there is an awful lot of weed in the water, so I suspect that we are going to have a few weed issues. But if I can keep the rod tips nice and high, the line of weed seems to be about 10 metres out, so if I can keep the line clear of that, possibly I'm going to be alright. I'm going to set my camp up here above the high water mark, so that I don't have to keep moving, but I will probably put the rods down further and sit down there by the rods. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I've got Billy Bob with me, he's got his coat on, so he should be nice and warm. And yeah, let's get set up, let's get fishing. The tide has just turned, it's on its way in, it's not a particularly big tide, so that means that there's not going to be lots of tide whistling through, so should be able to hold the bottom, and it means that the weed's not going to be whistling through too fast either. So let's keep it lucky. Looking at Newhaven Head there is actually someone paragliding, so it can't be that windy. Yeah. Okay, so no more ado, let's get tackled up. See you once we're tackled up. Woo. To do that, we've got two scratching rigs on at the moment, so two hook flappers with a single worm on each hook, and well, we'll see. And I'm using my best worms first, because I figure that at this stage of the tide, the fish are a little bit choosier. When it starts to get dark, the whiting will come on, and I can get away with some manky bait. But at the moment, I'm going to use some good baits, because I would like to catch some flatfish, is what I'd like to catch. I've got a feeling the hooks might be a little bit big for dabs, but we'll see. If we're getting loads of bites and no fish, and the baits are ragged, I might go down to some smaller hooks. So we're going to whack the rods out. We'll leave that filming while we do that. First rod going out is going to be the fixed ball rod. So here we go, an off the ground cast. Using a Penn Affinity reel on a BlackRock SS10 rod with 70-pound braid throughout, so no shock leader. Not going out so far because we're into wind, and I've got to try and keep this line up nice and high to keep it away from the weed. There is still a fair amount of weed out there. I suspect that is going to be a problem, but we'll see. That's the lead has hit the bottom. I think the other rod, albeit it's a great pendulum casting rod, I'm going to off the ground that as well. It's quite a stiff onshore breeze. Billy Bob, you're shivering because you're out in the wind. You stupid dog. The line is right in the weed line. Oh well. Yeah, I've got some weed on it already. At least there's no leader knot. I mean, the weed is actually looking as though it's getting better. Tide has swept it away. It's not like it was just when I first got here. Right, second rod out. Here we go. I don't think you can see it on the camera, but there's a bit of weed making its way all the way up the line to the rod tip. At least it's not sitting in the waves. As I say, off the ground cast because of the wind. Oh, that went out all right. Yeah, well, we'll see how this gets on. I suspect it's going to be weed city and we'll have to go down to one rod, but we'll give it a go, see what happens. Not getting a decent distance on the cast because of the waves and the wind. Waves because it means I can't get down to the shore's edge, and wind means as you're casting it into 20-mile-an-hour wind. Yeah, that bit of weed that worked its way up the line is now wrapped around my rod tip. Okay, so give you a shout when we start catching some fish. Well, both rods are out. There's weed on them already. There's certainly weed on the right-hand rod. I'm thinking though, I'm kind of quietly confident, fingers crossed, that the worst of the weed is going to get swept away with the tide. There is still a bit in there, but not like it was, or get washed up on the beach. Oh well, we can only hope. So we've got 2 rods out, we've got four baits out in the water. What can go wrong? See you in a bit. Billy Bob is tucked up in his little bed or bait bucket. Right, stay there, mate, don't get out. Hopefully he's going to stay in there in the warm and be sensible. So the right hand rod is moving up and down, but I suspect that's because it's picked up some weed. Interestingly enough, the left hand rod doesn't seem to have weed on it. Oh, there's some weed down there on the line. That's on the right hand rod. They're going to wind that right hand rod in and then put it out, because I think I must have just cast straight into the worst of the weed, and I think the weed has cleared away now. So let's get the right hand rod in, get it sorted out, get it back out there. Oh yeah, lots of weed on here. Don't think I've got any fish, I've just got fish weed. Yeah, there's no fish there. Let's hope the baits are intact so I can just whack them back out. The beauty of using this line without a shock leader is that you haven't got that horrible great clump of weed that forms on a shock leader knot just when you're bringing the fish through the surf. Yeah, just turned myself around so I've got my back to the wind so it's not blasting the mic. Yeah, the worms look fairly intact. Doesn't look like there's been anything noshing at them, which is not so good. I've got to be a little bit sparing my worms. I haven't got very many decent worms. I've got loads of frozen rubbish, which I can always use. But as I said earlier, I want to try and use decent baits early, because fish are a little bit more scratchy at this stage of the tide. A bit later on, when the sun goes down, the whiting pandemic will start, and there'll be plenty of fish out there. So let's get this boy back out and keep on fishing. Bit another off the ground cast. See if I can loft it out a bit further this time. Maybe not put so much height in it. Oh, my other rod has got weed on it now, I can see it. And it's flapping around in the surf. Felt the lead hit the bottom. Yeah, funny little sag when the lead hits the bottom. Billy Bob's sitting in his bed, but I can just see his head peering above my tackle box watching me. I'm afraid, Billy Bob, I haven't got any food. Got some tea. Okay, keep on fishing. Some activity on the right hand rod. Could be weed, it could be weed, but we're going to wind it in and just see. Billy Bob's come out of his bed. Oh! Thought there was a fish for a minute, but I think it was a snag. No, nothing there. But the good news is there's not loads of weed on there. So I think the weed has gone. The baits have been stripped. the baits have been stripped. So yeah, no bait on there. So that's a good sign. Might be an indication I need to put smaller hooks on. I'll get this one back out. I might rig up a smaller rig hook and see if we can. Have I got any smaller rigs? I'm gonna have to have a rummage in the box and see what I've got in the way of small rigs. Just trying to untangle a smaller hook rig, because I've got a sneaking suspicion it might be the likes of dabs or what have you, robbing the bait. I wouldn't mind getting a few dabs for my tea. But it's all come out of the tackle wallet in an almighty mess. They go into the tackle wallet so neatly. I think there's some sort of an elf that gets into my tackle box and messes it all up at night. Right, get in there, I think. Get in there. So we're gonna change this over to a bit more of a blingy rig with a smaller hook on it. See if we can't draw something in. I'll get back to you when we caught some fish. It's only a single snood, single hook, one lugworm with loads of beads above it and a little flashing blade. So let's whack this bad boy out and give it a go. The nearest rod, the one with the multiplier on it, has actually been out for quite a while now. So be interesting to see if it's got any bait on it. But the furthest rod had a huge lunge on it just now. So it seems to have crossed over. Let's wind this in. See if we can wind it without bringing the other one in. Nope, nothing on there. Just a bit of weed, which is gone. We'll whack him straight back out, and then we'll bring the other one in. Refresh the bait on it, maybe. Right, so he's back on. Let's get him back out. Walking back up, and guess what I found? I found tea and a lure. Look at that. Looks like brand new. Oh, the hook's a little bit rusty, but look at that, in perfect nick. It was caught up in some weed. So that's a few bobs worth of lure, I feel. So that's a result, isn't it? Come on, please be a fish on here. Please be a fish. Feels like there's something here, but it might just be a big wodge of weed. What we got there? What we got? What we got? Oh, we have a fish! We have a fish! Woohoo! So we know what this means. Cue the music, and it's not a blank dance. So yeah, that's definitely christened this rod. So whiting, happy days. Yee-hee! So, I don't know why I'm so excited about catching a whiting, but I guess because it's not dark yet. Yeah, don't know why I'm so excited, but it means it's not a blank, and that's what's important. Gonna get this bad boy back in the water. It's not a particularly big one, but what I might put on is a stinger rig now. Now I know that there's some whiting about. Whoa, good hell. Whoa! Did I get that on film? Nearly got swept away. It's like Chesil. Right, I think it's time for the stinger rig on that rod. I really do. So let's tidy this one away. Got a bit of worm on, and we're going to put a stinger rig on. But we're going to put a stinger rig out, and basically it's a live bait rig. But it's a live bait that means you've got a healthy live bait. You're not casting the bait out, which will kill it. You've got a biggish hook there, attached to the bend in the hook, short snood, with some flotaceous luminous beads above it, and then we'll put a bit of worm about that long onto that bait, and hopefully we'll pick a whiting up and we'll leave it out there, and we'll see what comes along that likes to eat whiting. There's got to be some whiting eating fish. Right, so we'll get that out there and we'll carry on fishing. We did have a few little tugs on it as we were winding it in, but it might just be my imagination or wishful thinking. What have we got here? Still not showing itself. No, it's a fickle fuckle fish. I honestly thought I had a fish on then. Oh well. Never mind. Bait's been stripped though, so that's the result. So no bait on there. It's starting to get dark. I noticed when I was tackling up just now I couldn't see the end of my hook, so it's time for the headlight and to get the tip lights onto the rods. Now the tip lights that I favour are, I think they're BGGT tip lights, something like that. I'll put what they are in the comments if I've got that wrong. And essentially it's a long thin little light there, LED, and it's powered off a battery that looks like that. Now these batteries, believe it or not, are rechargeable. So you can buy a little USB recharger, and this green one here has been recharged a number of times, and it's back bright again. Each time it dulls down, put it on the charger for half a day or whatever, and away you go. So we'll just show how that works. The battery goes in, pushes in place, and there's a little plastic cap. Now I happen to know that the little plastic cap is actually still in the holder on one of my rods there, so I don't have to worry about that. I'll just push it into it, and this one will push onto the other rod, into the rod tip holder. Okay, so we're going to have a green and a red. Stop and go. Ooh. Just had a bite on that rod while I'm sorting out the tip lights. So we just got these little holders on the rod tip there, and these just push into them. This one's a new one, so it's a bit stiff, but as they get older they do loosen up a bit. And there we go. Red light means danger, and the green looks like it means go, because it's definitely rocking and a trotting. So we're either into the weed again or we have something on there. Now this one, the nearest rod, we want a fish on it and we want to leave it on there. Furthest rod. Oh, there's a fish on there, I think. Oh yeah. Right, let's wind that one in and see what we got. Film, yeah. Ooh. Feels like there's a fish on here. I'm thinking dogfish, but I might be wrong. It's tugging. Yeah, it's still going. I mean, if I was really wishful thinking, I'd say schoolie, but we'll know in a minute. Or it'll be another one of those fickle fuckle fish, getting it through the surf. I've got a sneaking feeling that I lost that fish in the surf the last one I wound in. Well, pickle my walnuts. Nothing. I'm very surprised there. There was definitely something tugging at that as I was bringing it in. But that's fishing, I guess. There was something definitely tugging on. Now I've gone down to a small hook. Could be it was something with a bigger mouth. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, aren't you? Still plenty of life left in this worm. You know, if I was fishing a competition and it was all or nothing and trying to catch as many fish, then I'd be freshening baits up and I'd have lots of baits to do that with. But unfortunately, I'm very limited on the amount of bait I've got. So I've got to reuse as much as possible. Now you do surprise me, there was no fish there, I have to say. Right, ready to go again. Yeah, let's get it back out there and get back fishing. Right, standing by for the after dark whiting pandemic. Hey! He's got the scent of something down there. I dread to think what it is. Hey, come up here. Come on. Right, well, the rod that I've just cast out is definitely got a fish on it, I think. It's definitely got a fish on it, I think. It kind of gives it away, doesn't it, really? It's definitely got a fish on it, I hope. Probably more appropriate. So let's wind it in and have a look. Ooh. Again, getting tugs. Could be little dabs. And just the hooks are too big to go in their mouth. Definitely feels like something rattling on there. Could be the spikes on the breakaway just bouncing through the shingle. Oh no, there's a fish there. Woohoo! There we go. Like I said, as I was walking up the beach, getting ready for the whiting pandemic. There we are. Second whiting of the night. Yeah, actually halfway reasonable size whiting that for off the beach. Certainly better than the little tiny pins that we have been catching. And it was certainly giving a good account of itself. It was rattling and tugging. See if we can get this one back before it keep it alive. Meant to be a circle hook. It's meant to go in the corner of your mouth and be easy to come off. Right, we've got him off. Let's see if we can get him back. Oi, 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 come here. Come on. Okay, we've got a load of activity on the whiting rod again. So I'm going to wind that in. I'm going to change that over to a stinger rig. So I'm going to be fishing 2 stinger rigs because I don't want to catch hundreds and hundreds of whiting. That, in my experience, very few of them survive when you put them back in the water. So I'd rather just have one on there as bait and hope for something better. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring that rod in and we're going to change it over to a stinger rig. So we'll have 2 stinger rigs out there. I'll bring the other stinger rig in just to check to see I've got bait there. I mean, it's a gamble. I could be bringing in a really viable live bait, but you know, it's fishing, isn't it? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wind that rod in and see what we got on there. Doesn't feel like there's a lot on there actually. I think my stinger rig, the other rod which has already got a stinging rig on, I think that is quivering and vibrating, so I think there's a whiting on it. No, nothing on there, which do surprise me because it was a rattling bite. Don't know what to do. Do we keep on fishing with it, or do we put a stinger rig on? There's still a bit of life in this bait yet. I think I might whack it out one more time with this bait on. We'll rig up the stinger rig ready to go, so when I bring it in next time, it's just a quick clip over, I think. There's quite a long tassel of worm here, so I'm guessing that the fish are ragging on it. Okay, so we've got it back out. Let's sort out this stinger rig. Caught in a snag on the way back in. So I've just taken me this length of time to retie the shock leader and to rebuild a stinger rig. We're going to be fishing 2 stinger rigs now, so it's kind of all or nothing. But I don't want to be catching hundreds and hundreds of whiting. I'd rather walk away having caught nothing but the couple that we have caught, with a chance of picking up something decent. So that's what we're doing. So let's get this out there and fingers crossed. The stinger rig in, the one that's been out for a while, just to prove that the first part of the process works, because there's a perfect live bait. Oi! Sorry, my dog's eating the bait. So the little bugger. Oi, get away from it. Just to prove that the first part of the trap works. We've got a perfect live bait size white in there, but it's been out there a long time, that whiting. Let's hope we're going to have 2 out now. Let's see if we can't catch something long and slippery or with a beard is the plan. Okay, so it works. Okay, just brought in one of my stinger rigs just to see if we've got what's going on, and it's bereft of bait. So I've been fishing that obviously for quite a while now with no bait on it. So let's get that rebaited up and get it back out, so it can do what it's meant to do, and just catch me something decent, because that ain't going to catch me nothing. Right, get that rebaited and get it back out. Rig in, and that's likewise bait robbed. So lesson to be learnt there, maybe don't leave them out because they're quite so long, but hey, on another night you need to leave them out, who knows. Rig's in, and got the best whiting of the night so far. So the stinger rig definitely worked this time. It would have had to been some sort of a conger reel that had that, I think, but whatever, we'll get him out and get him back. Let's wind the other one and see if there's one on that as well. I suspect there is actually. The end of another good session. We haven't caught a lot of fish. In fact, we've caught 3 whiting, I think, all night. But to be quite honest with you, I wasn't trying to catch lots of fish. I was hoping for something decent. Hasn't happened tonight. but you know, you've got to be in it to win it. We're going to keep on trying these stinger rigs. I'm determined that I'm going to catch something decent on them. But we're going to call it a night now. We're going to pack up and we're going to go home. You know, it feels like it's the middle of the night, but it's only 7 o'clock. So time to go home and have my tea. So see you later. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll be back on the next one. In the meantime, keep safe, keep sane, keep fishing.